Hello and welcome to a special two-part mini-series exploring digital transformation and innovation across Africa's insurance and healthcare sectors. I'm Andile Masuku and this is the African Tech Roundup podcast. And over these two episodes, taped at the fringes of the iFHP Big Ideas Workshop 2024 in Johannesburg, South Africa, we'll go deep with two innovators who are reshaping how financial and healthcare services are delivered across the continent. In this first episode, we sit down with Evah Kimani, Director of Partnerships and Digital at Britam, one of East Africa's largest insurance providers. Now, with over 18 years of experience spanning telco, ICT, and financial services, Evah lets us in on how a major traditional African insurer like Britam is updating its product development and go-to-market strategies by embedding insurance in what she calls insurable moments, like hailing a ride or buying airtime. Now, she shares insights into how cultural practices like chamas and harambees are informing the future of financial services across the continent. Now, that's all next, but first, this mini-series is made possible through the support of the International Federation of Health Plans, the iFHP. Now, the iFHP brings together health insurance leaders from across the globe to share insights and drive innovation in healthcare financing and delivery. To learn more about how the iFHP community is shaping the future of health insurance, visit ifhp.com. This podcast series is an independent African Tech Roundup production. While it's made possible through the kind support of the iFHP, the views expressed by me as your host and those of our guests are entirely our own and don't necessarily reflect the opinions of our presenting sponsor. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Evah. Britam's the largest insurer in Kenya. I'm sure that's a position that comes with a lot of pressure, but also a lot of privilege and opportunity. What's trending in your world now in terms of those three things? Is it the opportunity side of things, or is it the sort of watch your back, we need to keep our advantage and the whole reason we're at the top still going?
Very interesting question. When you're always on the top, you have to keep watching yourself in this industry we are in. And also in Africa, as you might know, the population is getting younger and younger. The customers we are serving keep evolving. And therefore, at Britam, we are always awake to these changing customer trends and always trying to keep ahead of the curve to make sure that the customers that we serve continue to derive value. And as we say in Britam, our main vision is really safeguarding dreams and aspirations of our customers. So that keeps us awake and it keeps us always in check.
The one thing I have observed about the way you go about delivering on what you've just said is somewhat counterintuitive to what I observe in the insurance market on the continent, especially in big brands who have dominance in the markets they serve, with the exception of maybe a couple that might come to mind. I do sense that Britam is actually truly more interested in what's coming next than trying to maintain legacy advantages. And I think it speaks to your role at the company. And I wonder how you frame the business opportunity of a partnerships function at a company like Britam.
3 years ago, as Britam, we took a very bold step to look at our business in two main ways. First of all, to ensure that we run a customer-centric organization, but we did identify that we have two sets of customers. One is the customers that keep the lights on, the customers who have been with us for the last 60 years. And two is to look into the future and ask ourselves what got us here, what has made us who we are in the last 60 years might not get us where we're going. And therefore, we framed the opportunity of how do we reach that next tier of customers? How do we serve them differently? And we are also identified that indeed you can do this alone. There is no way in this modern way of working you can actually be able to win the marketplace if you try to just be on your own. And therefore partnerships for us is one of the biggest strategic pillars. We go out of our way to look for like-minded partners who may not be in our field, and together we sort of create solutions that add value to the customers that we're serving. You will agree with me that the new customer is quite an impatient one. They don't necessarily want to buy, for example, if you're buying a car, you don't want to have to buy the car, go look for who is going to insure that car for you and many other things. So looking at how you combine solutions so that you are more holistic, you make sure that the customers get value from what they get. And that's where the value of partnerships come in. So we go into working with telcos, we work with fintechs, we work with insurtechs, we work with other global brands like Microsoft and many others to make sure that whatever solutions we are delivering are adding value.
You have a fascinating product suite, or actually product development portfolio is more accurate in terms of the pipeline of things you're building, but also things that are live in the marketplace. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Maybe as a backdrop to a broader conversation about why it is that Africa is so underinsured, give us a sense of what the buckets of value Britam offers the African consumer in terms of various kinds of insurance.
A very interesting fact about the insurance penetration. Obviously, it's very, very low outside of South Africa. It's anything 3% and below across. But you will also agree with me that in Africa, the typical African is very different from other markets. And there's this thing that we say in Kenya that, yes, insurance penetration is low. However, Africans have ways that they mitigate the risks. So, for example, in Kenya, we have what we call harambees, this fundraising. So you will be put in a WhatsApp group here and there to fundraise for a funeral. So we are more collective. And so while formal insurance is low, we have found ways
to de-risk life.
Exactly, to de-risk life. And therefore, it's for us insurance companies to become very innovative and to provide solutions for these customers in the space that they operate in. And therefore, we are very aware of what they are doing. And we try to create, for example, let me give you an example of a group last expense product. So we've realized because Africans like to be in groups, they will not buy last expense as an individual.
By the way, last expense in other markets would be?
It will be a funeral.
A funeral plan, okay.
A funeral plan, for example. So in Kenya, our customers don't like buying funeral plans individually, but they'll buy them in the groups that they are in. We call them chamas. And therefore, you create solutions and then they're able to consume them in that manner. Obviously, you'll know that some markets we operate in, death is not something that is spoken about. So someone else is likely to die, but not me. So if I'm in a group, I'll buy a group last expense, a funeral cover for the group because somebody might just die in the group who is not me. So you have to really just look at your customers, and specifically Africa is very unique. And we have also realized that the solutions that have traditionally been there are not quite working. And this cuts across even to the life insurance and even to the general insurance. The other big issue on insurance penetration, and which is also an opportunity, is on the income levels. You will find that most Africans are not quite in formal employment. You will find that they are in places where they earn daily wages. And how do you then ensure that your pricing resonates with how they consume or how they earn, so that then you're not asking them to buy annual covers? So we've done innovative things where we are breaking down the payments into monthly, into even daily. And that then makes the barrier of insurance adoption a bit less. You break down those barriers and many other such examples that can really help us reach and insure our customers.
As I read through material on Britam and I encounter some of your partners and some of your projects in the wild, I've definitely experienced some of what you're saying. And I wonder if it's playing to dominance in, say, key businesses that already are established. So maybe give me a sense of what is the legacy portfolio?
Life insurance, as you know it. Obviously, in Africa, what we've tried to do with life insurance is not sell products, what you would kind of call term life, where you get nothing until you're dead, So we try to frame them into education policies. Those are the kind of products that are really more entrenched in the African market. So education policies for your children. So how you protect your life, how you protect those you love, and also the short-term end of it, which is the auto insurance or motor insurance, the usual risks of your properties, protecting your assets. those are kind of the legacy, the old sort of insurances. But then you'll also realize that in the world, there are very many emerging risks that are coming through. You've seen all these conversations around climate becoming major risks now. Floods, things that we didn't experience on the continent are now becoming very, very real. And so we do have the old conventional type of products, but we also have the new solutions we continue to create to match the emerging risks that our customers are having. Health is another big one. I don't think health can be underpinned at all, whether it's conventional, whether it's new. I think that's a risk that will continue. And obviously, with our governments in Africa not being able to give proper universal health coverage, then our population continues to be at major risks. Recent COVID outbreaks can just demonstrate how exposed as a continent we are to such risks.
So on one hand, there's the legacy dominance in traditionally framed insurable risk. And on the other hand, I think you've started to allude to innovative sort of product-led thinking to solving for African realities and also the changing consumer behavior or characteristics in various markets. In your world as a director of partnerships and digital, you manage a P&L, you and your team are leading a business charge, a pragmatic business charge that is evaluated on, I presume, some ROI. How do you balance that legacy sort of traditional thinking and book of business, and of course all the incentives that lean into that world, with this brave new world of product-led thinking and open collaboration-led innovation? How do you balance those things as someone who drives a business unit?
Definitely, P&Ls are very important. And if you're a shareholder, Andile, at the end of the year, what are you looking for? It's dividends. And so it's really having that fine balance where you also make sure that the products that you're delivering, the solutions that you're creating, not only make value for the customers, but they also make business sense. And that's what sustainability is all about. Traditionally, you would look at these innovations as nice to have, but from where we sit at Britam, we actually look at them as business value. For instance, even with our microinsurance business, it's a profitable business, and we make sure that the solutions we create there not only address customer needs, but they're also creating value, because sustainability is also important for business. So definitely you do need to put a level of investment. It's like paying for school fees for your children. You need to put a level of investment. And at Britam, we've taken a very bold step in investing in the future of some of these things we're doing. We are definitely looking to collaborate, and we collaborate with a lot of global organizations that are looking to also support in some of these initiatives, so that then the journey becomes easier for us. But ultimately, everything we're doing is for profit.
This is a quick pause to thank the iFHP for resourcing this mini-series. Now, the iFHP facilitates knowledge sharing between health insurance leaders globally, helping drive innovation in healthcare delivery. Their network includes both established insurers and emerging market players working to expand access to quality healthcare. To learn more about their work and how you can be a part, visit ifhp.com. One of my favorite things that Britam is definitely headlining in the microinsurance space is insurance for farmers. It might be counterintuitive to many people listening to this podcast who come from developed worlds that don't mirror the agricultural realities of countries like Uganda and Kenya and some of the other markets you serve. Give me a sense of how you make a business case around a lived reality of everyday farmers in a place like Kenya or Uganda, and how you develop that into an actual product.
A typical farmer in Kenya, one, lives in a rural setup. Two, their level of education may not be that high. And three, the risks that they get exposed to. For instance, if they get sick, especially health or death in the family, literally pulls them down, and it could actually wipe out everything they've done. So case an example where we are covering around 700,000 farmers across Kenya is the tea farmers, where you have to go in there. You have to realize that, number one, even how they get paid is irregular. So you have to go and, first of all, take care of your land, make sure the tea gets ready, harvest it, take it to the factory, wait for the factory to process it and sell it. And then they will pay you in seasons of 3 months, every 3 months, every 6 months, and things like those. And therefore, for you to be able to take care of these farmers, you need to do a few things. Number one, you need to work with the agencies where they deliver the tea. So collaboration and partnerships are very important. Number two, you have to look for a community approach where the community or the leaders are the ones who are educating these farmers on what these solutions are about.
And here, there you're addressing a cultural dynamic that might not be mirrored in other markets where, in other words, you're addressing how influence accrues and how decisions are made within a specific cultural context.
Exactly. That's how decisions are made. In the more modern world, you would say use influencers. Yeah. So these community leaders will be your influencers, if you like. They'll be the more educated people. They will be the guys who are taking the product first. And more importantly, it's also to work with the facilities that are where these farmers are. You also don't want to give them a health insurance cover where they have to spend the whole day trying to access service. So you actually also have to go in and work with the facilities that are in close to them. And also, more importantly, a lot of investment in mobile education. So as Britam, we spend a lot of time with our partners going out there, giving our customers education, and also ensuring that they begin to see trust. And you will agree with me that the value of insurance comes in when you're claiming, when you go to a health facility and you need to get treatment. So we have to ensure that we give our customers the value that they paid for, to ensure that the trust element also is taken care of. And finally is how they pay. Like I told you, they are not being paid on a monthly basis. So how do you then tailor make how they do the payments of their premiums to when they receive payments from the tea farming activity that they do? So very important that we look at everything across, from their level of education to making the product accessible and to even making it affordable for them. And more importantly, working with them across the journey so that then they can trust you and they can begin to also talk to others about it.
It just struck me too, what you're solving for in some of that is the impact of a key individual, say a farm owner, the impact of them being away from their farm for an extended period of time. So you could do all of that, create a great product, make it almost really difficult to access. In other words, 3 days of lost, man or woman hours on the farm, and it would basically entirely fall flat.
Exactly. It will basically wipe out their living. And that's a very critical part of it. And you will realize that's why sometimes they don't seek help. They don't seek treatment because today is the day that I'm harvesting my tea. It's time critical. So I'd rather not go to hospital and continue with my daily living because this is where I get my income. So that disruption of what they do is something that we have to solve for. And it's something that we continuously have to ensure that is taken care of and mitigated.
Yeah. And sometimes a couple of days can make all the difference in terms of when you bring the harvest in. Yeah.
Correct.
I love this intuitive, but I think also really intentional addressing of pain points that don't necessarily speak to optimizing for how the company makes money. And I think it's counterintuitive for a lot of innovators within corporate who are obviously very KPA led and obviously are very driven to optimize shareholder value, which ultimately is, what you're all here to do. But it's really interesting to see in practice how at a big company it can actually play out in this way. And one of the things I've also taken an interest in is your embedding of product in what might be the most PR'd innovation in digital economy terms from Kenya, which would be M-Pesa, obviously in the mobile money and the whole mobile money initiative. Talk to me about the embedding of insurance in mobile and digital products.
There's something that we sort of coined. You know that in insurance, we have something called insurable risks. And also follow on that is insurable moments. So really,
I love that. Firstly, insurable moments. Okay. Everything I said in like 2 minutes, you distilled into insurable moments. Okay.
Exactly. This is the whole concept of embedding insurance, and you have to look at it from an insurable moments perspective. So I'll give you a few examples. Taxi hailing. You're about to hail a taxi. I'm sure you came here perhaps with an Uber. So taxi hailing. At that moment when you're hailing a taxi, how about if I could insure your trip and tell you, hey, Andile, for just an extra rand, this trip is insured for anything, for accidents. If you lose your phone while you're in the taxi. So give you another example. In Kenya and in most of that African market, we have a lot of what we call boda boda, motorcyclists. They're a very risky kind of category for insurance companies because they're always causing accidents. They're always breaking down and things like those. But you look at it and say, for these boda boda riders, what do they need every day? Every day they need to have a phone. And they need a data bundle because they need to access internet. This is how they look at maps of where they're delivering of where they're taking their customers. Some of them are riders who are working in parcel delivery, so they will need to deliver parcels. And in Africa, GPS is not very good, but they can use maps to sort of find where the destinations are. So how do we make sure that we take care of them? What did we do? We went in and embedded insurance into a data plan, and with one of the largest telcos in Kenya. And with that, we've actually reached just under 1 million customers who are able to actually get insured on a daily basis as they buy their data plans to any accident-related emergencies that they might be in. So that's another very typical insurable moment that we are looking at. Finally, I'll give you an example of the youth. They value their gadgets so much. But tell me, if you buy your phone today and then tomorrow an insurance guy comes to sell insurance, you'll be like, you know what? I'm done. But at the point you're buying your gadget, if I can just embed a device insurance at that point of sale, more often than not, you will pick it. So that's a whole concept of embedding insurance, but you have to make sure that the moment is insurable, the insurance is relevant to the customer you're looking at, and also it's affordable because you don't want to buy your iPhone for 1,000 rand and the insurance is 1,000. So what's the fraction? What is that balance between what you're the item you're purchasing and the insurance that we are embedding in that? So yeah, fun times.
Again, I love that insurable moments thing. And I think a lot of those insurable moments are happening true in the world of digital economy and digital economy transactions or interactions. I think a lot of them are happening in quote unquote real economy moments that are happening out in the field in rural Uganda or on a busy back alley in Bari, Zimbabwe, or you know what I mean, or in Soweto in South Africa. And what I love about what I've observed and learned from you in speaking to you, even on this chat, is how you're mining that reality to create a pipeline of monetizable opportunity for your insurer and your employer. What I'd like to end the conversation on too is your efforts in the moonshot realm. Right. So if we have a digital economy that's starting to form and we've got terms of reference for and it's building, there's a real economy and there's a big grasp of the opportunities there, the boda bodas, the, you know what I mean, the chamas, the, you know, that are all happening offline in interesting ways. And you're tapping into that. There's a world beyond that, a wide space that exists maybe outside the scope of your exco and your board right now that you are playing for through investing in startups and things that don't quite line up directly or neatly to the shareholder value maximization efforts of your board. Talk to me about all the work you're doing in that area.
At Britam, I'll call it a strategic bet. We are betting hard on on this startup and entrepreneurship. And part of our big focus, which also aligns a lot on our sustainability agenda, which, by the way, we are a member of the UN Global Compact, and we published our first sustainability report just under 2 months ago. So for us, as a business, we have taken a very bold approach to how we will work and to what the future looks like. And the one thing we do agree is that we are an old 60-year-old insurance company. We may think we have all the answers, but the truth is, Andile, when you've been 60 years old, there's some level of comfort that comes into that. And you can actually get disrupted because you generally can't quite see what's going on. And that is why we formed and we launched Beta Lab this year. And what Beta Lab is really is a corporate accelerator program. We've opened up our doors to startups in the financial services space. Britam is into both insurance and other financial services, investments. In fact, indeed, we may not know what we are going to be doing in the next 5 years. In fact, 5 years is too long. Nowadays, you can do strategies even for 3 years. You have to keep iterating and you have to be very agile in how you do this. And so what we have created is a safe space where we encourage startups who have ideas, where we encourage young people who have all these creative ideas to come in. We give them a bit of funding. We work with our partners to support them from a resourcing perspective. We also help them from the experience we have to validate and to create some MVPs, minimum viable products. We help them test for product market fit. We offer them mentorship. On the weekends, if you come down to Britam, you will find a bunch of young people being mentored, and we get industry mentors to just come in and help them even on how to pitch their businesses. And ultimately, the idea being, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know where the future is going to go. And in one of these ideas, we definitely believe that we will find something. We'll find a gem. We will find an M-Pesa that we can invest in. And more importantly, we will get partners that we can work on this. And again, just going back to the partnership piece, even when we are working with startups, we don't do it alone. And perhaps why we are currently now in Johannesburg, because I'm here looking for partners that we can collaborate in, partners that we can co-invest in, partners who are also in the same space of supporting and making sure they're giving some catalytic seed capital to these startups, so that then we can do it as a team. As the private sector, we need to take a very bold step on this, and we need to really support the next level of startup and entrepreneurs. We know that they were building for Africa. Africa must be the reason, and therefore we must invest in this continent. I think gone are the days when we have to wait for investments to come out of the continent. We really have to start it, and then others can join us.
You heard it here first. Britam's going CVC, folks. And full disclosure, I've definitely tapped into some of your early partners on this initiative. And honestly, it's good. It's good vibes, eh? It's really good vibes.
It's good times, yeah.
It's good vibes, and I'm hearing good things. And I think what will be interesting for me to observe is how you're bringing some of that partnerships thinking we started with that has gained a lot of traction, giving you the leverageable trust and goodwill in your organization to launch something like this. It'll be interesting to see how you build that out in ways that are different to here in South Africa. For example, Sanlam is prolific at not stifling innovation, or at least grooming it from the inside, but not with this open collaboration approach. They seem to be able to inhale things and build them without killing them. So that's unique to Sanlam. I've admired it for a very long time. Other people seem to really struggle at this. I've consulted to one of the largest insurers in Europe that basically had brought us in to consult on trying to help a portfolio of startups they'd built in a standalone vehicle pitch into themselves, because it was such a challenge to not just nurture that talent, but also partner with it. And you seem to have a competitive advantage, in my view, based on the traction you've built, your track record to date in terms of partnering and integrating that into the business. And so I'll be watching closely to see how you infuse this into an incubation corporate venture capital type effort. And so please don't say no when I circle back with more questions.
I like to always say that it's a good time to be at Britam, and Andile must also say that some of these things really can't happen when you don't have your whole board behind you, when you don't have the whole executive team backing it. So probably that's why we are able to make more bold moves. Looking forward to when it blossoms into a whole CVC. But that kind of support you get from the top is very important. And that's why we are moving as quickly as we are. Something we like to say in Britam is that we are going to be bold and do it now. So we are taking a bold move on this.
Someone's really good at putting out these great lines at Britam. I need a connection. You need to connect me offline, because that's what I like too. But thank you so much, Evah Kimani. It's been a pleasure having you on the African Tech Roundup.
Thank you, Andile. This was so much fun. Let's do it again. Thank you.